Okay, I'm here in Stornoway with Neil Mackay of Neil Mackay and Company, and I'm under the impression, I've heard rumours that he's for leaving the EU. Are these rumours true?
Well, I'm afraid they are, yes, yeah, they are true. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm happy to hear it, in fact.
Yes.
So, what then is your main motivation?
Well, I was never fond of the EU in the first place, but it was okay. It's just growing too big, and I'm obviously an SNP supporter, and I voted yes. But I was led to believe that we were modelling ourselves on Norway, which is great model. But now they've twisted things around the SNP party, and we're now modelling ourselves on Greece, for argument's sake. A full member of a small country, a full member of the EU. So it's not very good. So I was hoping we would be an independent country. Independent.
Yeah, and how can you possibly be independent in the EU?
Exactly.
It's impossible.
My view is that at this point in time, I prefer to be told what to do by London than Germany.
Of course, and my own thoughts exactly. You know, with regard to I think the lack of sovereignty, the lack of control, is absolutely without doubt the biggest single issue. You know, headaches is the word that comes to my mind. We all know about headaches, and I'm not talking specific. I'm not actually talking about the physical kind of headaches that you get, that you need, that people take pills for. I'm actually talking about. For instance, you're trying to run a business here, you're running a business here, and if you get somebody knocking on the door and informing you that you've got to do something differently, right, you're struggling along, say, and this person appears and says, oh, by the way, here's something that you have to attend to. And in reality, it'll be some silly, pointless ruling from Brussels, for instance.
Well, it's difficult enough for us here to go through the council and the Scottish Government and then Westminster, and that is a chain of events that's difficult. If we then have to go to Europe, it becomes virtually impossible for that. So there's nothing local. We were always led to believe, or I was led to believe, that they were trying to put more power closer to home. Yeah. Instead of that, the power is going to come away, you know.
Absolutely.
And Scotland will be such a small voice in the whole thing as an independent country.
Yeah.
The main, it's. I'm very much for Scotland on their own. Yeah. But obviously, the other thing that was quite annoying to me when I sort of delved into it was when I went online and looked at the bookmakers. It's roughly, give or take, 50-50 split at the moment in Scotland. Forget about the rest of the UK. It's not my concern at the point, you know. But the bookmakers are 50-50. We have. You'll know better this, maybe 100 MSPs and MPs in the SNP?
Are you talking about Westminster?
Both.
Well, there's 50 some, between the two, well, I mean, there's 50, it's in the 50s, I can't remember how many, a few of them have dropped off, a number of them. It's over 50, maybe 56.
MSPs?
No, but MPs, SNP ones.
Yeah.
I can't.
I think it's about 50-50. So we're going to about 100 MSPs and MPs from SNP.
In total, about 100, is it? Yeah, okay.
Which I would have expected, maybe 20 or 30 of them would have created a wee enclave of out.
Yes.
But instead of that, 100% of them have followed the party line.
Yeah.
And they've all, which there was no then, we couldn't debate. Within the party, any SNP members like myself cannot debate the point because it's, we're staying in or we don't want to know you.
Yeah, no debate. I mean,
so, but I obviously believe in some of the points of the in campaign, a lot of the points, but obviously out is.
I mean, I think that people are overcomplicating something which must be kept simple by talking about this, that, and the next thing, pounds and pence, and so on. Right? I mean, really, it's like this. You know, like when you first leave school, you've got a blank sheet kind of thing, and you don't know really what you're going to do, right? But you know this much: you want to make the decisions, right? Well, isn't it kind of like that with the country?
Yeah.
Well, look, never mind the little fiddly side issues, right? Here's the big issue. You make the decisions, not them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know best what's good for you. It's very simple. It's so simple, and that's of course the same direction the SNP were coming from, of course, and are still coming from, basically, right? If they were to keep it at that, it would do the campaign a lot of good, a lot more good.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, okay, there's another argument. I personally believe I'm a unionist.
I know
so
that.
I personally believe you know that the UK works fine. But when it comes to the EU, it's a totally different animal.
Yeah, of course it does.
Really. But you know. For the UK to call the shots and make its own decisions is absolutely right and best, and anybody who tries to argue with that is literally being ridiculous. The word that comes to my mind when I listen to people like, what's his name, Paddy Ashton today, is, oh, well, dopey is one, right? How can anybody be so dopey? He actually said on TV today, Paddy Ashton, that it would be a disaster.
See these politicians. I was talking about this as well.
Yeah.
When they lose their seat in all the different, are they not all given some sort of job in Europe, and their friends work in Europe?
Exactly.
There is so many wages coming out of that European Union. It's frightening.
It's all about bribery.
Yes. Well, it's open bribery. It's not bribery.
Yes.
It's jobs for the boys.
Yes. It's like I've always described it as a room full of gold. That's what the EU is. You open the door, you can hardly push it open because of the gold, and it's spilling out around the door. And the guy says to you, "See, this can be yours.
Yeah.
All you do is toe the line, the party line, the EU party line. That's it. It's a room full of gold." And has Cameron been dazzled by it? You know when he's finished, he says he's a lame duck prime minister now. That's it, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. When he's finished, he knows his days are numbered. The writing's on the wall. Everybody knows it, right? Well. What's he going to do afterwards? Well, if he toes the party line, they will...
Well, he'll be an advisor in Europe somewhere. And Paddy Ashton, if I'm not up to speed on politics, I think he's some sort of advisor in Europe. Yeah. So he'll be picking up 100,000.
Oh, Paddy Ashton, is he really?
I think he is. I could be wrong, but I think most of them are the same as Neil Kinnock and all these people.
Yeah.
All these ex...
Remember Tony Blair?
Yeah. They're all taking something out of it.
Absolutely. I think a good way of putting it is, remember Tony Blair. Carry on.
You alright?
Yeah, carry on.
Hello? Oh, well, just leave them there just now. I'll be down at midday anyway. Well, I can't get down till midday, so... No, unless Olika goes down. Yeah. Can you... I'll get Olika to nip down then. Alright. Alright. Just, they're looking to empty up some pallet down at the shop. Just leave them to it.
Oh, what pallet is it?
Some pallet of paint or something. I don't know what paint. Huh? You want to give them a hand?
Come down there.
You want to give them a hand? Leave it. Leave them to it.
Leave them to it.
Yep.
The exercise. The way I put it is, remember Tony Blair, remember the fishing industry. You know, and there are other things you could add to that. There's a list. Remember this. Remember that. All the negatives about the EU. You know, there's a list of them.
I mean, there's obviously some good things, but obviously the bad things outweigh.
The good things are this, I think. I think they're restricted to the people riding the gravy train, right? So in actual fact, the good thing for them is not a good thing. It's actually if you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's a bad thing for the rest of the country because it's bribery. Bribery is always a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, see, I spoke to, I think our own MSP, and he said, and our MP, and he said, the European Union was good for the islands, which is true. The islands have now got their different rules and different things, so we now have to compete for the money that we put in. So when we're competing against Greece and all these Eastern European countries, and their or bridge is falling down, they're going to tick more boxes than we, so we won't get the funding.
Absolutely.
And they will get it. So our money is then going to go to these other countries.
Callum Burrows coming to take the printer.
Is it? All right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's meant to get interview soon.
Yeah. There's another fellow from. Yep.
Oh, right.
Yep.
You can join in if you like.
Yep. I'm not too sure what his views
Just
are.
come in and join in if you want.
Come on.
Come in and join in if you want. We're doing a wee interview here.
Come on. Okay.
We're talking about the EU.
The EU?
Yeah. So have you got an opinion?
I certainly do.
Okay, what's your opinion then?
I'll give it to myself.
See, this must be part of Project Fear. That's the result. Yeah.
So yeah,
Aye, where were we?
I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, we know it is a fundamentally simple issue. Of course, you know. Is it best to have control, or is it not best to have control? And you could ask anybody that question, and surely anyone whose brain is functioning would say, well, yeah, best to have control. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. Then somebody would argue, but hang on a minute, there's this group over here, and they pay me a few pounds for relinquishing control. Mm-hmm. So I need that few pounds. All right, okay, hang on a minute. Well, but what if you decided that it was worth more if you were to just forego that, let it go, and manage to arrange things, your own affairs, to such a degree, like business. A business is either prosperous or it's not. Mm-hmm. So if it's run properly, if it's managed properly, it will be prosperous. There's no doubt about it. A business will always function.
I'm not going to give if I have £100, I'm not going to give it to my accountant, mm-hmm. and then ask my accountant, can I buy a bag of cement today? No, you can't. You can buy a bag of cement tomorrow, or maybe the next day. Yeah. But I need the bag of cement today, and it's my money. Tough luck, that money's going to another contractor today to buy their bag of cement.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to function as a business. So Business Scotland or Business UK has its own money, and it can create its own budget, spend its own money, in the way it wants to each time. And on both sides there's been this fear factor of everything, which is just, but if you forget about the politicians and just think, carefully about the whole thing, the amount of countries outside the euro in the world, mm-hmm. forget about Europe, it's just,
absolutely.
I mean, you've got New Zealand, Canada,
yeah.
Australia, all the countries around Europe.
And the emerging economies too.
We can deal with all these people, we can trade with them, we don't have to have this restriction, you're not allowed to do this without this. And
why? Who ever heard of restrictions being described as good?
Yeah. I mean, of course we're going to be of course we're going to deal with Europe as a mate because they're next door to us.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, I go up to Bain & Morrison's to buy my bag of cement. I'm not going to go to Inverness. The reason I'm going because it's beside me there.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yes,
so,
yes.
But I could still go to Inverness.
Yeah.
No one's going to stop me.
That's right.
So, it's the same. You go to your next door neighbour as long as the price is reasonable. But if it's not, I can shop around. I can go to Inverness.
Yes.
At the moment, if
freedom.
I was in Europe, I wouldn't be allowed to go to Inverness.
That's
I would
right.
have to go to the local all the time.
Well, I spoke to somebody recently. He buys motorbike parts, and he usually gets them from America. Mm-hmm. And he said, "But if we left the EU, I'd have to pay more for my bike parts from America." Sorry, but actually the opposite would be the case of anything.
Which is the same. There'll be no difference.
Well, the point is though, if anything it would be more advantageous. But he's got more choice anyway. Mm-hmm. If we're out, we've got more choice. And it's as simple as that. More choice is better.
It's so easy for me as a business to buy stuff from... I bought a kit from Canada, a kit house. I can buy stuff from Canada and the States. Very easy. Mm-hmm. In a year's time, no matter what, it's just as easy. Won't make any difference for me trading. So I'll now be able to trade with all these other countries. We'll have an open policy.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think will be really great is actually be able to pick people that comes into the country. I employ 4 Eastern Europeans. Yeah. And they're great people. Yeah. I can then pick. I'm not against any of people coming into the country.
Mm-hmm. No, of course not. No, I'm all for that kind of immigration. Good immigration. Mm-hmm. People who want to work and people who have a healthy attitude. Yeah. But I don't want people coming in that want to kill us, right? Yeah. And I don't want people coming in who want to subvert our society for the sake of some misplaced ideology called a religion, right?
Well, if I go to I was in Turkey once,
Mhm.
right? And while you were in Turkey, just for a couple of days, and you had to follow the Turkish rules very closely, and my wife had to make sure she was covered up and everything else, you know.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and that was fine
Yeah.
because that's the rules of that country,
Yeah.
and we adhered to them carefully.
Totally.
Yeah, and he wasn't allowed to wear shorts or anything else, and that was fine. That was in the place we were. Now, when people come to our country, they can just abide by our rules, and they're more than welcome. And that's the way I look at it, you know.
Yeah. Aye, well, I mean, okay, you know, that's right. You go to another country and if they've got bad rules, you just have to shrug your shoulders and muddle along.
Well, obviously I've never been to Turkey since.
Yeah.
Not that I've got any, but you know, that's, you know, I didn't particularly feel that comfortable in the country.
Well, my brother used to go to Turkey regularly,
That's
of
right,
course, and he used to. The whole point was to evangelise, you see, to spread Christianity, and his approach was just that. You know, he would meet people and he would try to persuade them to change their minds, right? And of course, if they didn't want to change their minds, well, that's fine, you know, right? And of course, that's actually the Christian approach, of course, you know, it's up to you. But of course, the Muslim approach is, listen, if you don't take it, we're going to kill you.
Well, obviously that's just some of their approaches. No, they're not all like that, but there's a minority like that.
That's what the book says, right? So it's not about the people, it's about the book. We shouldn't be looking at the people, we should be looking at the book, because regardless of how many people are for that or against that, isn't really the point. Some of them are, we know that. But the most important issue here is what the book says, because that's what they're following. And if we want to deal with this problem of this percentage of people who want to do us harm, we know they're following that book. So that's what we have to identify. Like Obama, so a lot of people are finding fault with Obama because he's refusing to use the correct term to identify the problem, right?
Well, I don't delve into politics that deeply.
Well, that's the problem they're having in America just now with this issue. The president refuses to acknowledge the true problem, which of course is a major, massive problem in itself. And he's refusing to admit that. He's in denial. But that's what we have to do.
Are you guys going to talk about the EU at all? There's Muslims and Trump.
It's part of it. Well, we haven't even mentioned Trump. We can talk about Trump if you like. What do you think of Trump?
Me, well, I'm not really for him at all.
Okay,
no.
But that's a personal thing, isn't it? It's because of his approach, isn't it? Really, mainly. I bet.
No, I'm not for any extremists at all. Realistically, if liberal was anything better, I would be a liberal. Realistically, I like middle of the road politics. So I don't like left or right.
Would you describe coming out of the EU as extreme, or would you describe that as liberal?
I know the Liberal Party are for Europe, but I would find it very liberal. Actually, I think it's very reasonable for us.
Well, yes, it is reasonable. That's a good word. But if you're going to use the word extreme,
it's not extreme to want your government back.
But it sounds to me as if you're doing what a lot of people do, which is this. Putting the word extreme into a negative box. So extremism being bad.
It would be very difficult not to call Donald Trump extreme.
Okay, you may not.
That's just my opinion. Yeah.
Okay, I know. But what I'm going to say is this: extreme difficulties or challenges require extreme measures. Yeah.
Well.
Solutions.
Yes, but not to that extent. Of
Well,
course,
it depends.
Well,
if you've got a murderer running about with a gun, how are you going to stop him?
A SWAT team will take him out.
Well, that's an extreme measure, isn't it? It
No,
is.
it's proportionate.
Well, it's still extreme.
It
It's extremely. It has its own kind of extremity.
Yeah, but extreme things like that comes with extreme
If you want to chop down a tree,
well, the man's throwing apples at you. Would you shoot him?
if you want to chop down a tree with an axe, you're going to have to use extreme force in a certain point, to a certain point. So anything that requires more force, you're going to have to turn up the volume or whatever.
But obviously, I don't particularly agree with Donald Trump, or most of the Americans are just, to me, they're just a wee bit.
See, the thing about Donald Trump is, from my point of view, he's not. Of course, he's not perfect, but nobody is. Yeah, and you have to. There's a biblical term, weighed in the balances. right? You have to weigh things in the balances. So if you put Donald Trump in the balance on one side, right, and you look at what he wants to do, and then you take somebody like Obama or Hillary Clinton, put them in the other side, or even both of them together if you like, and even her husband, put the three of them in there. See what happens with the scales, right? From my point of view, I think the scales would be heavily weighed down in Trump's favour, very much, regardless of what flaws he may have as in one way or another, like we all do. Right? If we can overlook certain flaws and truly and honestly weigh things up.
I'm not in a great favour of anyone that's running in politics in the States.
Yeah.
I think, but obviously I think Hillary Clinton would probably be a safer pair of hands.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you? What about Benghazi?
Who's Benghazi?
Right.
I don't
Libya.
I don't follow politics. Like
4
that.
people died. Benghazi, Libya. 4 people died as a direct result of her actions.
I don't want to get into
That's only one. That's
I can't
only
answer
one.
the questions because I'm
How
not
many
involved.
people died in the Iraq war because of Tony Blair?
Hang on, we're talking about Hillary Clinton, right?
But I don't really.
Again,
We can't move on from these things, right? We can't move on from these things. That's important. That's one extreme example. There are others. You only have to look at that one alone, right? She was directly responsible for the death of the ambassador and others because these people asked for military protection and she refused to give it. Right?
Well, I don't
they
know.
needed it.
So I
and afterwards they lied about it to cover it up by saying it was because of a video. It wasn't because of a video. That was a lie. The whole thing is a corrupt, terrible cover-up. They are awfully dishonest people.
Well, yeah, but I'm not really that at this point in time interested in American politics.
Okay.
And I don't follow it, so I can't make a comment on it. Really, all I'm following is a snippet here on the news, and that was
But Iraq is still current. They're still.
That's a bad thing. That's a bad situation.
Yeah, been lied to basically. Yeah.
It's a bad. Yes, it's a bad situation.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony Blair, we know what he was like.
I mean, we can talk about 3 people in Benghazi, but you're talking about hundreds of thousands in a land which still is suffering repercussions of these decisions.
You're right.
The UK.
So you're absolutely right.
And Tony Blair have taken. Anyway, we sure would all agree that.
But you shouldn't blame the UK. You should blame individuals. The UK is not a person. The UK is just a lot of individuals together. You can't blame everyone. You have to take the individuals and blame the individuals. So instead of just blaming the UK, you should.
But a vote to remain is a vote to take control. I'm sure we'd all agree on that.
Sorry to
remain is a vote to take control.
Take control of what?
Oh, you're a fair.
That's the opposite of the truth in my view.
Is it?
Yes, a vote to come out is a vote to take control of our affairs.
In what way? I like
the most obvious way in the world.
I'm interviewing you here, right?
Good. The most obvious way in the world.
In what way though? Give me a piece of specific.
Well,
If Britain wakes up tomorrow on Friday and has voted to leave, how is it taking control back?
Well, because since we joined the EU, and in particular over the more recent years, sovereignty has been clearly eroded and diminished.
Give me an example.
Well, I mean, look at the fishing industry. Okay. Once upon a time we had a very large fishing fleet and we had control of our waters.
Absolutely, yeah,
but we've ceded that control away completely.
No, we've negotiated that control away.
If you want to split hairs, split hairs.
No,
but the truth of the situation.
We are where we are because of where the UK.
But the truth of the situation, the simple truth is that if we hadn't been in the EU, we would still have a fishing industry. We would still have control over our waters.
We still have.
That's one example. You only need to look at one. There are a number of examples. You can pick any one you want. Let's just keep it simple. Let's not move on. Let's not try to move off the point.
No, let's stay on the point then. Yeah, Britain votes to leave on Thursday, right?
Yes.
It's still at the end of the day, whether it votes to leave or to remain, you still have the EU as your neighbours and your members, and you still are tied with them in one way or the other.
Well, of course,
you're either
geographic.
You're either in the EU at the party, or you're outside the EU looking in from the outside.
Not true.
Very true.
That's a myth.
Well, I would like to be.
It's a myth.
You still have to deal with it.
It's a myth.
You can be normally looking in.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're describing the future. Who in the world can describe the future to any degree of certainty whatsoever. That's why we have bookmakers. That's why bookmakers can make money, because nobody knows the future. If anybody knew the future, bookmakers wouldn't exist. So to stand there and say this is what will happen in the future is ridiculous, and nobody should do it.
I know, I'm not doing it. I'm just saying that.
Paddy Ashton was doing it today on the telly. I nearly put my foot through it.
That's the Liberals for you, though.
But no, it's what people do across the board all over the place, right?
The Leave side too. I mean,
but I agree with you that Liberals are problematic. I agree with the left and all that.
And we would agree that there still has to be trade deals even if we do leave.
Well, look, that's just life. That's just life. Let's not lump life into.
So how do you know for certain that the deals that would have to be done in the event of a leave vote will be just as good or better as it is right now?
That's immaterial.
Do you really think Westminster cares?
That's not the point.
Do you really think? Not just the point. It's a point.
I'll tell you why it's not the point. Let me explain to you. Let me finish.
How do you know that Westminster actually cares?
You'll have to let me address your points one at a time instead of moving on to them.
No, I'm still on fishing.
Right.
Yep.
The point you were making about these deals and these affairs, right?
Yep.
It's secondary. These are secondary issues. It's not the primary issue.
No,
the primary. Let me explain. You're not letting me finish.
Okay.
The primary issue is whether or not we have control. That is the primary issue, and it's the only issue that matters. Window dressing is what you're talking about. We can do the window dressing once we've established the shop. Once we've established that we have the shop to ourselves and we make the decisions of what goes in the windows and everything, then we'll worry about the window dressing. Not let's worry about the window dressing before we get the shop.
But I mean, with respect, you're just circumnavigating the point, just answering around here. How do you know? You talk about fishing as one example, how we would take back control. Now I put it to you, I'm saying that it's because of Westminster's bad negotiations within the EU that we don't have a fishing industry. Not because of anything that's imposed.
It may not be.
It is. It totally is.
And I'm not going to disagree with you.
Hang on, let me finish. Britain, the UK, Scotland as a whole has a bad agricultural subsidy. It gets bad agricultural payments and fishing because that's the deal that the UK has negotiated.
Yeah, that's all true.
It is true, yeah.
It is. The only deal Westminster dressing compared to this issue.
But what's the point of it? What's the point?
Well, what's the point of what?
We got a bad deal in Europe as Britain as a whole.
I'm saying if Britain was more interested in its agriculture and its fisheries as it is in its rebate, it would be a different story altogether. We wouldn't have, as you would say, foreign trawlers cleaning out their fishing grounds.
Power.
We wouldn't have a decimated.
The issue is power, authority, sovereignty, control. That's the only issue that matters. Nothing else matters. Never mind talking about window dressing and secondary issues and things that can be taken care of later on.
So first
of all, we get first things first. Priorities. Our priority is to wrest back control from the EU.
I'm asking for example.
I'm
asking for example. You've given me fishing. I'm saying I think it's fishing. It's been killed by Westminster.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll come down to your house and I'll tell you what you're going to have for your dinner tonight. How about that? You're going to have Brussels sprouts.
You're not telling me what to have on my dinner, though.
And I want your front door to be blue with pink spots. Have you got that?
Yeah, but
you're not allowed to paint any other colour. Right?
That's very cute.
And you will knock down. You will have an outside toilet.
I've got one anyway. Yeah.
Okay. You will. And you're not allowed an inside one.
Yeah, but I mean, how's that pertinent to the point?
It is very pertinent.
How?
Because it is what I'm talking about here is precisely what the argument is about. We're being dictated to, and
I have an appointment soon. So
okay, that's on that note we can end this.
No, this is good.
I can't. It'll take forever to upload this if it goes on any longer. It's been quite long enough.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean is taking control of immigration as well.
Well, no, it's not. But no, it's not. What's the Labour guy called? He made it quite clear that we can't control immigration.
But you can control it anyway.
Because he's quite an honest guy. Whether I believe in what his policies or not.
You come out of the EU.
What's his name? What's the Labour guy called?
The leader of Labour. Jeremy. The mad Tommy, you mean?
I don't agree with his policy, but I know that he's a relatively honest sort of person.
But you come out of the EU.
It's possible.
You come out of the EU, then you're coming out also the Dublin regulations.
Right. I'll tell you what. Right. I'll have to bring this to an end. Right.
Yep.
So I'll give each of you a last word.
Well, give the second last.
Who wants to start? Who wants to have the last word first? The first last word.
Well, I think if we vote to come out, I think we're thinking that the Tories are going to be in power forever. They're not. This is a short-term thing that these politicians are feeding us. I'm thinking 30 years. If we come out in 20 years' time, our children will be thanking us for this.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I absolutely
In fact, in
believe that.
10 years.
I believe that. Yes, I believe it.
So
We have a duty to our kids. We have a duty to everybody else in the country, and we have our duty is to the people of the country, our children and so on, not to people of other countries.
Yes.
Their duty is to the people of their own countries.
yeah, we'll let Orica then have the last word.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say a vote to remain is a vote to take control. There you go.
Well, there's Orica's last
Anyway,
word.
it's not allowed time off to vote on Thursday.
No, that's
So-